This is an official start. Thank you for joining me, everybody. In today's live stream, I'm going to show you how to create a dashboard app that follows stock prices on the stock market. But most importantly, I'm going to show you how to use Bootstrap in order to design the layout and the styling of your app. So we'll change color, we'll change fonts. After creating these drop downs, we'll put everything in rows and columns. We'll put spaces here between the checkboxes labels, and we'll put space here. We'll move things around so you can feel very confident at the end of this tutorial to use Bootstrap to design your app in any way that you want. Well, if you want to go into the video layout after this video, when I publish it onto YouTube, I'll put a section of video layout. You can just go into the video layout and any section, just click on the section you want to see over again instead of seeing everything from the very beginning. To follow along, feel free to go into my GitHub here. I added it to the chat. I'll add it again just in case. And you can, this is the code that we're going to be going over. All right. So let us begin. Oh, I'm going to have about 2 or 3 breaks in between in certain sections of the video, so you can have an opportunity to copy paste some code if you want, to catch up, and to ask me any questions you might have. All right, so let us start. All right, so the first thing you want to do obviously is import the libraries that we would need to work with. So you're going to import dash, import dash core components as DCC. This is going to allow us to create the graph and the dropdown later on. Dash HTML as HTML. And then you want to import from dash dependencies. This is for the callbacks. Dependencies, import output and input. And let's import Plotly, because of course we need Plotly Express in order to create the graphs as PX. Let's import Bootstrap, our favorite Bootstrap. This is what we're going to use today to design the layout of the app. Oops, as DBC. Import pandas, dear old pandas, use that for everything. I always forget the as, right? And this is for the data. So we download the data. We're not going to use a CSV sheet right now. We're going to use an API in the Pandas data reader. So Pandas data reader has a few APIs in there, datareader.data, that you can use in order to download data from the web. Some of them live. The Pandas data reader is, the Pandas data reader is right here. Let me paste this code into this chat so you have it as well. Right here. And this Pandas data reader gives you several options where you can connect to an API and get information from stock market, Moscow exchange. I like this one. Where is it? The World Bank will give you information, social statistics on every country in the world. So very interesting. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is let's define the range. We need to define the range of time we want the stock prices for, because we don't want it for 20 years, which is the default. So we're going to say start equals date time, and we'll do 2020 January 1st. And let's do the end date. We'll just copy paste this. Will be 2020 December, let's say 3rd. Okay, and now we're going to put into a data frame we are actually going to call the data from the stock market. We're going to go web dot data reader, and now we have to define what stocks we want this data to read, this API to pull. So we're going to request stocks for Amazon, AMZN. We're going to request stocks for Google. We're going to request stocks for Facebook and 3 more. Let's do the 3 pharmaceutical companies that actually created the coronavirus vaccine. It's Pfizer, it's biotech, BioNTech, which is worked with Pfizer and Moderna. All right. MR, did I get that right? Yeah, mRNA. And after we define these, go into, we are pulling the information from Stook. Stook is one of the data readers. I will show you right here. This is right after the list. Okay, you have to define Stook. And Stook is because it's right here. You see stook.com, you pull it. If you open it, well, if you open it, it'll show you exactly what we're doing. And then you can go to the Stook website. I think it's Polish, but it doesn't really matter. You can find any type of stock symbol you want. Let's say we're looking for Twitter, and it'll tell you you have to use TWTR. You don't need the US, and you can download Twitter. We were looking at Pfizer, so it's PFE. See, PFE, it's Pfizer. So here's where you can find all the different stock prices, and it can give you, I think, up to live dates. All right, so we're going to use Stook. You can also change this to Yahoo. I know I don't think they are as strong as they used to be, but you will also get some information from Yahoo if you want the same information, I think. All right, Stook, and then we'll define the start time. Will be start. Default is 20 years, but we don't want to go 20 years back. It's just too much data. So we're just going to use this date, so from January to December of 2020. And now let's let's use a stack. We have to stack it because by requesting this API, we're getting a multi-index. So we're getting like 3 headers. So we'll just stack everything. So it's just one header, and it looks good with reset index. And now let's print it out and see what we get. Print out the first 15 rows. Complete dashboard. I'm using PyCharm if anybody needs to know exactly what I'm using. All right, so we see here that we printed out 15 rows. And we have, I think, 6, 7 different columns. We have the date column. See, it's from December, going back to December 1st. It'll go back to January 1st if we printed everything. The symbols, close price. There's a high price here that you can't see. Low, open, and volume. So we're going to use all this data to build our app and to bootstrap it. All right. What we're going to do now, because every time I run this app, I'm actually running a script, and I'm requesting the API. I'm putting some information on I'm pulling from the API here, and I'm going to run this multiple times. So I don't want to overload the API and risk them banning me. So what we're going to do is we're going to put everything into a CSV, this data frame into a CSV. So then we can just pull from the CSV just for this purposes. If you have this app that you go live with it and you offer it on the web, obviously you can just do this with the API. Just find out what is the maximum amount of requests you can do for the API. So we'll call this my stocks.csv. Don't forget that CSV, and we'll do index false. All right, let's save this. Let's run it again. Hey Srikar, how you doing? All right, so now that we put everything on, now we put everything into a CSV, so you see it's in my stocks. If you open this Excel sheet, this should be saved where this Python file is saved in the same folder. Now you'll see that we have the date, the symbols, close, and high, and this is the data that we are going to work with moving forward instead of calling the API every single time. So I'm going to hashtag this out. Let's make this smaller. I'm going to hashtag all this out. We don't need this. And we're just going to use the pandas CSV, which is going to be df equals pd read. Let's read the CSV that we just created. My stocks, perfect. And let's just print out, make sure it works. Run it. Great, so now we have the same data, it's just pulling from the CSV instead of the API, so we don't overload it with the requests. All right, so now that we have our data, we can officially start instantiating our app and start our app. So we'll do app equals probably done this a million times before. If you build apps, dash underscore name. This is because we have Flask in the background under the hood, external style sheets. And this is where Bootstrap comes into play. So Bootstrap has several themes to it. We are going to do the regular default theme. So it's dbc.themes and then you choose the theme you want. In PyCharm, you'll get a list of all the themes that you can put in there. Okay, we're going to choose the default Bootstrap theme. However, in the GitHub, I have the link to other themes if you want to see them. So open that link if you want inside the GitHub that I share with you, and you'll see all these different themes. So just look over them and just see what theme you want. If you want a different color, a different button, a little bit of a different, shape on the buttons, you see how there's a shadow here, then just choose this theme, Lumen. Or if you like the Minty theme, just use Minty. Whatever you choose, make sure that this is capitalized. All right, if you choose Minty, capitalize Minty. All right. And never forget, I've forgotten this a few times, to always declare your theme. You always have to declare some kind of theme inside this external style sheets, or everything we do below will not work. The rows, the column, none of your Bootstrap will work unless you declare a theme. All right. The next thing we're going to do here, I'm just going to copy paste from GitHub, because this is just code that will allow your app to be responsive to mobile. So with this meta tags, when I'm putting a list of inside a list, I'm putting a dictionary name and I'm assigning viewport and content, all this. I have a whole different video on this. If you want to see the video, it's on layout with Dash Bootstrap with I think it's called your mobile layout. And I explain with detail how this works and what everything means here. But what this allows us to do is if you if your users see your app on a mobile, the layout is responsive and it becomes smaller so it fits a mobile screen. We'll see how this works at the very end, and we'll see actually how we inspect that with Google Chrome so we can make sure that we can see in every single phone the layout that we want. All right. So we have this, and now I think it is time to take a brief break. We'll take a 2 minutes break. The next section is going to be actually going to the layout and starting Bootstrap. So let me just write this out. Layout section, we'll do Bootstrap. Okay, the app layout. So before we start here with the app layout, I'm going to take a 2 minute break and see if there's any questions that you have that I can help. Let us start. So app layout, as we know, we have to start with app layout, just declare that. And then you want to put everything into Julio, thanks for this video, for sure. Put everything into a DBC container. I made the mistake of putting in my first videos, I think I put everything into html.div, which is okay. But if you're using pure Bootstrap, then just put everything into a DBC container, close that, and inside a list, all the rows and columns and everything in your app that's going to go on the page is going to go inside the DBC container. It makes it a lot more, it's just a lot better, Davis, is the Py file a download? I don't. You can download it on GitHub or just copy paste it from GitHub that I have and that I posted here on the chat, and then you can just create your own file. All right. So DBC container. First of all, declare your rows. Okay. The first thing you want to do is DBC row. Open parentheses, open list, and inside the row. Actually, we are going to have 3 different rows here. Let's look at our app again. We have one row for the title. We're going to have another row for the dropdown and the graph. They're going to be in one row. And then we're going to have another row for this title, label, checkbox, and these graphs. Okay, so we're going to have a total of 3 rows. And in each row, we're going to have several columns. Okay, so let's create that. Let's create 3 different rows, comma, row, comma, row. And inside the first row, we are going to define our first DBC column. This is a column component. And in this column component, we are going to put the we're going to put our title. You can put it in different ways. We are going to use html.h1, which comes from right here, the -html components. And this is usually a header used for headers. And we'll just call it what the name is, stock market dashboard. Stock market dashboard. And yeah, let's see how that works for now. We'll save it, we'll run it, and let's see what we get. Oh, forgot, if you want to run it, obviously we have to put what you put in a dash app, which is if __ name to actually start the app, __ equals. In a string, you put __ main. This again has to do with Flask under the hood. Run server, we'll do debug true. And I'm just going to use port 3000 just in case I want to use I want to run 2 apps at the same time. You don't really need this right now, but just in case. Okay. So now we have this link, we can click on it. Oh, come on. All right, so now we have the stock market in black, a little bit to the left, and and that's it, because that's what we put. We want to put it in the middle, and we want to create blue color to it. So how do we do that? We do that, you can do it in several different ways, but to use Bootstrap, what we're going to do is go inside, 1 second here. See, I didn't miss anything. Good. Go inside the HTML parentheses, and right after the string, put class name. Class name is one of the parameters that HTML dash has. You can go and you can click on PyCharm. You can click Control and then click with a mouse on HTML1, and it'll give you all the different parameters that you have in there. Not sure why it's not giving. Did I click the right one? No, I clicked in it, I think. There we go. Control, mouse, and not sure why it's not showing up. Maybe next, maybe H1. Okay, yeah, H1. So Control H1, and you'll see we have ID, we have end clicks, keys, and class name, right? So we're going to use class name component. Parameter, sorry. And the class name, here's where we define inside a string, here's where we define any type of Bootstrap styling that we want to give to it. To search for your Bootstrap styling that you want, use this link right here. This is a Bootstrap cheat sheet that I'm going to share with you. There's many different cheat sheets. I like this one because it's very comprehensive. So take this inside the chat and we'll give it to you. So I just posted it on the chat. And in here, you'll see all this different sections where you can look up Bootstrap styling or design. So we're going to go into, let's actually expand all. And what we wanted to do is we want to put the text inside the center. So the text is right here under utility text. What is it? Text, right? And we want to put text center right here. So these are a few examples of how we can put text in the center, but this is a class name, text center. So we just copy this, put that in there, and we'll have text center. We'll run it, and now we'll see that if it loads, now the text is in the center. All right. Another thing we want to do is we want to make it blue. Now, to make it blue, obviously you have to go into the color part of the color section, so utility colors, and in here you have different colors. You have primary, text primary, secondary, success. Primary is blue, success I think is green. So you can just try the different ones out. You can click on them, you'll see this is the blue, success is green. So we just have to copy paste. We'll take this is the class name. Come on, primary. Okay, text primary. So I did not put any comma here. It's just if you want to put multiple class names to assign them to if you want to assign multiple Bootstrap classes to the class name parameter, just put space between them, okay? So now we have the text is going to be in the center and the text is going to be blue right there. Now if you want to have, I'm going to add another thing which is going to be MB4. MB4 gives it some padding on the bottom. Where's MB here? MB, MB1, MB1, 2, 3, 4. It just gives some padding between the text on top and what's going to come underneath. So you'll see that now the row underneath here is invisible right here, but there's a little bit of space between this row and the title up here because I added MB4. All right, so that was our first styling with a Bootstrap cheat sheet. What we're going to do now is have a comma, and inside the DBC column component, we have to define how wide we want our component to be. So in this case, it doesn't really matter. We'll put 12. We want it 12 columns wide. So it's not going to stretch. It's not going to start here with an S and end here with dashboard, like 12 columns. It's going to fit into 12 columns. In this case, it takes about 3 columns of space, and it's right in the middle. But if it was a lot of text, it would stretch from all the way to the left, all the way to the right. All right, so we created our first row with our title. The second row that we're going to create, as you can recall, is this drop down and the figure. So let's create that right now, and then we'll start moving things around. All right, so obviously here you want to create DCC drop down. Drop down is a component in dash core components. Oops, you know what I forgot? I forgot to declare column. So you have to declare column first. DBC column, because we're going to put everything inside a column component in this row. List. All right. DCC dropdown. Let's do ID. We'll call it my dropdown. My dropdown. And then we'll do multi-false, so we can only choose one value inside that dropdown. The first value will automatically be Amazon that will load space, and then we'll just do the options. And the options, as you know, is just a list of dictionaries. Every dictionary is an option that has label. We'll call it, assign X to it, so you'll see what that is. And the value, we'll assign X to it as well. Oops, come on. And then we'll loop. We'll say for X inside DF symbols. This is the symbols column inside our data frame. For X in DF symbols, there's like, I don't know, 100 different rows with symbols. But we're going to take the unique symbols. There's only 6 unique symbols, right? So it doesn't repeat the options. And we're going to sort them out. We're going to sort, so alphabetize. So sorted. There we go. Sorted, unique, perfect. So for X in all these symbols, we're just going to put label X, and so it's going to create 6 different options with 6 different symbols. And I think we are done. So let's save it and see what happens. Hopefully we'll have that drop down. Made a mistake here. The dash bootstrap column component. What was the mistake? Oh, it's not wide, it's width. Okay, this parameter up here is width. It's not wide, it's width. All right. Let's run it again. Oh, good, Abel. You caught it. You caught it ahead of time. I should look at my chat a lot more often, especially if Abel is there. All right. So we have a drop down. Let's look at it. So now we have the drop down, right? We didn't move it. It's right in the middle. It's right in the center. because we didn't declare any width to it. We'll do that in a sec. After the drop down, let's do comma, and let's add our DCC graph. Do ID equals, we'll call it our line figure, right? This is what we have on our GitHub. I'm trying to follow the GitHub, so you have exactly the same thing. Figure equals, and we'll just put empty dictionary. You don't need this, but this is just for tutorial purposes, just so we have an empty graph in there, empty dictionary, that we're going to fill in with something else. Okay, so now that we have the drop down and we have an empty figure, now we're going to declare, we're going to mention the width. All right, let's make this like this. So go after the list inside the column component right here, do comma, and now we can declare the width or assign the width that we want to it. So before, we assigned width just by number, we set 12. Another way to assign width is through a dictionary with different keys and values, because it gives you more options than just width. The strict width option is just size, and give it the size that you want. We'll give it, what do we have on the GitHub? We have 5, so we'll give it the size. 5 columns, and it's going to start from the left. So it's going to be the first 5 columns on the left. Let's start with just that right now. Right? So let's see what we have. Now you'll see that this, as it loads, it shrinks and it goes all the way to the left. Now, why is there a space here? There is space, actually I'm going to show you after the next column, why there's space here and there's space here. So this is 5 columns to the left, and now we have space here because we have an additional 7 columns free. Every grid has 12 invisible columns, so you have to take that into account. When you're building column components, you have to take into account that you cannot surpass 12 columns. 12 columns is the most you can have in one row. All right, so now we have 5. Let's create the next drop down and figure with another 5 columns. So to do that, we'll do it in the same row. So after this, the column component, comma, and just let's add another DBC column component, parentheses, list. And inside here, I'll just copy paste from the GitHub because it's just pretty much the same code. Going to GitHub, and we'll do the next column is right here. So what we copy pasted is my drop down, because we get another drop down, but this one is drop down 2. This ID is my drop down 2 instead of regular drop down. We put multi-true because we're going to have multiple choices here and not only one. Here we can only choose one at a time. Multi-true. The initial values are going to be PFE and BNTX, bio and tech, the pharmaceuticals that created the vaccine. And then the options are going to be exactly the same options that we have right here. Options right here, exactly the same options. Okay, and then we create another dash graph component where we have to give it a different ID. It can't be the same ID. It's going to be line fig 2, and it's going to be an empty figure. All right, so let's save this, and now you see that we get one dropped in a figure and the other dropped in a figure. Let's define the width of this so it is the same width as this one. So just go up here. Let's make this a little bit bigger. There we go. Width, we can do this. Same width that we have above. Let's define it here after the list with 5. So now let's see when it should shrink to about 5 columns. All right. So I have 5 columns here and 5 columns here. Actually, let's make it 6 and 6, just so you see the difference, what happens. So it's exactly in the center. Perfect. All right, so you see 6 columns here and 6 columns here, but you see there's space here on the right, on the right, and space on the left. So now we're going to go into some Bootstrap interesting material. If you want to delete this space, right, and this space on the right, what you can do is inside the DBC container, the main container of the whole layout, when you outside of this list, when you finish this list right here, you can add the parameter fluid. You can say fluid false, and if you put fluid false, let's see what happens. Saves. By default, it is fluid false. It's like this. But if you put fluid true, what will happen, it's going to stretch everything out without any space of columns to the right and to the left. Now there's no space to the right and to the left because there's 12 invisible columns inside every row, and we used all 12 of them because we said 6, the width of this figure and dropdown is going to be 6, and the width of this is going to be another 6. So there is no space. If we wanted space, we'll just put 5 and 5 right here in the width, and then we get the space that we wanted, right? We have 2 columns left here because we have 5 here, 5 here. It always starts from the left, and then there's 2 columns available because 12 minus 10, there's 2 columns available. Now another thing you can do inside the width, there's a few other parameters with Bootstrap that you can use inside the width. Another parameter is offset. All right, I have to put this inside a string. Offset, and we'll do 1. Offset means how many columns do you want to offset your components from the left. So if you put offset 1 into my first dropdown, you're actually going to put 1 column, empty column to the left. You see, we offset it by 1. You can offset it by 2. And then it will have 2 columns offset to the left of this component. You see, you cannot offset by 3 because you have 5 columns here, 5 columns here, that's 10. And if you offset by 3, that's 13 columns. A row does not have 13 columns, it only has 12. So what will happen is that this drop down in graph will collapse below this graph. So now they're going to fall underneath. Okay, this is what happens if you use too much, over 12 rows, 12 columns. So let's just offset by 1, and we'll also offset this one by 1 down here, the multiple drop down. So a total of 6 columns and 6 columns total. So we should have offset by 1 here, column and a free one right here because we offset by 1. You don't have to. This is what I chose to do. You can do whatever you want. The other thing we're going to do, the other parameter that you can use inside width is order. This is the last parameter that I'm going to teach you is order. By order, here it doesn't really matter. We'll just do 1, and underneath the second drop down and figure, we'll do order 2. Here it doesn't really matter because there's only 2 column components, right? But order just says that you can decide which components, which column components you want to come first. It goes from left to right. So if you say this is by default, this is going to be first by default because we wrote this first. This was written above this column component. But if you want, and this is why we have the drop down, single drop down, and then the multiple drop down. But let's say you have a lot of components and you want to say, I just want to write it any way I want, and then I'll play around with the order. So now you can say, okay, I just want this one to be the second one, and I want this one to be the first column component. So this drop down, the my multiple drop down, and the figure is going to be on the left, you see, and then the single drop down, although it was written above, is going to come second because we put order second. So this is really, again, if you want to write everything out, you don't care about the order. You write your components any way you want, your columns, and then you can define the order the way you want. So leave it by default 1 and 2 because this is the first one that was written, and then this one. All right. So before I go into some explanations over the row and what the row will allow you to do and the parameters in a Dash Bootstrap row, I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to catch up if you need to catch up, to copy paste some code so you can follow along, and to ask any questions you might have along. Okay, a few other things you should know with the row. Row will also allow you, let's make this smaller. Another thing you can do with a dash bootstrap row is you can use gutters. So let's do no gutters parameter. Let's put no gutters true. No gutters parameter refers to the space here, right? We offset this by 1, so let's close this offset. So let's clear this second my drop down to the multiple drop down. Let's do 0 offset, so there's no column to the left. Remember, offset is columns to the left. And if I have no columns to the left and no gutters, you'll see there's no space here. But if I want a space, just to make it seem a little bit more, I don't know, free, airy, just put false. And now you'll see there's a small space that is created between the column components. All right. So there's different ways to create space between column components. One way is the gutters, and another way is offset. Offset will create space to the left of the column component, right? 1 column, 2 columns, 3 columns, whatever you want. The next thing is justify. So justify is the horizontal, you're playing around with layout horizontally. So you're moving things from left to right. And you can see at the GitHub, we're going to use start. All right, we're going to assign the start string to it. There are different strings. You can use also center. You can use end, between, and around. All right, let's see the differences. Let us see the differences. Horizontal alignment. Start means there will be no space on the left. It's always going to go all the way to the left, okay? Center means you're going to have space. We're going to put the column components right in the center. Actually, so this is clear. Let me put offset 0, so there's no forced columns to the left. Offset 0, and we'll say let's do 4 and 5 and 5. That's good. All right. So now that because we put start, it's going to look like this. All the column components are going to be pushed to the left. So we go into our app. You'll see that all the column components, the drop down and the graphs are going push to the left. And there's 2 columns available here because 5 plus 5 is 10. And then you have 2 columns left. You can also push to, you put it in the center. And now we'll put everything in the center right here. If you do end, if you use the string end, then you'll push everything to the end, to the right. If you use between, the remaining columns, the 2 columns that are remaining are going to be, there's going to be space in the middle. And around is pretty beautiful. Let's put around. It's going to put the remaining columns around. Remember, for this to work, you see there's space here, and space here. For this to work, you need some space left. If we did size 6 for this column component, 6 columns wide, and for this column component, we did size 6 as well, there would be no space to work with. There would be very little space to actually make use of this justify. This justify really won't matter that much. Let's see what happens. You see, I put 6, so there's a little bit space here because no gutters, I think, and then space here. But it's really hard to, this doesn't mean a lot if there's no columns available. If I used all 12 columns in this row, right, which is the max, then it can't play around with anything. The justify really won't, you won't really see a lot. All right, so we'll leave it with around, just so it's a bit nicer. And now we'll go into our second row and do a few more things. There's also, I'm also going to dedicate time for the end if you have any questions, and I'll try to answer all the questions at the end as well. All right, so the row. So the next row we're going to do is this row, the checkbox, the label, and these two figure, well, the figure and the card. We're going to learn how to use a Bootstrap card and put an image inside of it. All right, so obviously you can copy paste from the GitHub. I'm just going to write this down quickly. Let's do, remember, first thing we do after we declare a row is we need to declare a column. DBC column. Open the list, and inside here, we're going to put, first we're going to put our label. We're going to put this, right? Our select company stock, our title. So let's do that. HTML dot, let's do P, let's use like a paragraph, and we'll put select company stock, and let's style it. This time we're going to style it using the style parameter inside dash, and it's always with the dictionary, and we're just going to say text decoration, and we'll do underline. So we underline that title. So we have that, and then we're going to comma after the HTML-P, and we're just going to put the checklist. DCC checklist is a checklist component, and inside there we're going to give it an ID. Let's call it my checklist. And then we'll put the value, the initial values that will be chosen. Because it's a checklist, the values always goes inside a list. So we'll choose Facebook, Google, and Amazon. All right, and now we just need options. And the options are going to be pretty much the same like the options at the drop down, so you can just copy paste options. Perfect. So we have our options, and now we are, let's see how this looks like. So save this, start this, and you see that we have our main label and then our options here. Amazon, and these were clicked by default, that were chosen by default, right? Now there's no space here. So how can we make space here? One way to do it is to take inside, click on, if you're in PyCharm, you can click Control and on the checklist with the mouse, Control checklist, and it'll give you the different parameters that you can use. We're going to use the label, where is it? Not input, label class name, and we're going to assign to this label class name parameter some Bootstrap strings, Bootstrap classes. So put label, oops, label, oh, we need a comma here, don't forget the comma. Class name, and now we're going to assign a Bootstrap class from the Bootstrap cheat sheet. So the Bootstrap cheat sheet is right here, and let's assign to it, we wanted some space, so we can do space through MR. Let's see what MR means right here. We'll give an example. You see MR 1, 2, 3, there's space. 0 space, 1 space, 2, 3, 4 space. So we're going to use MR3. So there's a little bit of space between the labels. All right. Remember, if you want to add more Bootstrap classes, just put space and add more Bootstrap classes. Let's make this. It's not on the GitHub, but let's see if we can make this text. Let's change the color of the text. Let's change text success. Let's see if this works. All right. So we saved it, we ran it, and now you see that there's space between, and the text is green. All right, so there's green text, and there's space between each label. So this is how you use the Bootstrap cheat sheet. Again, it's in the GitHub code, but if you want it, I'm going to copy paste it again to the chat, so you have it in the chat. All right. So now that we have our checklist, now we need to create our graph, right? So comma DCC graph ID. We'll use a histogram, so we'll call it my hist, and figure. We'll just do an empty dictionary there, and we'll again define the width. Let's do the same width as above. We'll do 5 and offset by 1. We won't even use, oh, come on. We won't even use order. There we go. Dictionary. Okay. So we have our width is going to be 5 as well, and offset by 0. Yeah, no, meaning no columns to the left. All right, so let's see what it looks like. It should be a little bit, it should be right here in the middle. Wait, why do we have this to the left and this has some offset? What did we do? Oh, because here we had justify around. So we can do the same thing. No, let's just do start. Let's just, like in the GitHub, so it's easier to follow. Start. All right. So if I do start here for this row, this is the first row right here. Now I'm going to put everything to the left. Great. All right. Now that we have our second row, what we have to add to this row is the dash bootstrap card and the image. Before we do that, let's go into the GitHub and just copy paste the code for the callbacks. I'm not going to go over the callbacks right now and show you how to do the callbacks, because this is mainly on Bootstrap, this tutorial. We're going to copy paste all this right here and then just put it inside the code underneath the container. Fluid true. Copy paste all this right there. Save it and then run it. And now we should see the interactive code inside of it. So now we have our graph that shows the stock prices of Amazon over time, or maybe Facebook. You see right here the highs. We have prices for Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna. These are pharmaceuticals that created vaccines. You see how they're Pfizer didn't go up that much, but Moderna and BioNTech really jumped from 50 to like 100 and something. And then we also have this here. So if we change the checkboxes, we'll see different closing values for, I think I did it for the last day, yeah, for January 3rd. All right. If you want to learn more about the callbacks, just go into the introduction to Dash, and you can learn more about how to connect the data together. But for now, just copy the code from GitHub right underneath the fluid true after the container. All right, I'm going to give people 1 minute to catch up and ask me any questions they have before we jump into one more Dash Bootstrap category, and before we jump into screen sizes, how to adjust your app according to the layout of your app according to different screen sizes. So let's give you guys a minute to follow up and ask me any questions you want. So if there's no other questions, let's move on to the next stage, which is adapting the rows to the layout to smaller screens and to mobile phones. Actually, there's one thing that I didn't share with you yet, which is we forgot to put the card image. So let's just do that. DBC column. So let's add another column component for the card. And here as well, I'm just going to copy paste from GitHub, so I don't have to write out the whole card. Let's go in there, go into the card section, DBC card. All right, so we have our card here. All right, and as you can see, we have the body, which is where we have the text. And under the text, we're using the Bootstrap class name, card text. You can go into the Bootstrap cheat sheet and see what this means. And underneath, we have the card image. This is just a GIF that I downloaded from Giphy website. So I just put the link. I didn't even download it. I just put the link. And the image is going to be on the bottom. And I'm going to have a 24 REMs wide. So it's wider than, it's pretty narrow. So I'm going to make it wide. All right, so we finished the card, and inside the column component, we're going to declare the width again. Let's declare it as width 5. We'll do the same with no offset. All right, so let's see what we get. with 5 and the one next to it. This is all in the same row. The checklist and graph and then the card is all in the same row with width 5 and width 5. So now we have width 5 and width 5. Now look at how this is a bit. This is aligned vertically. This card is aligned vertically with the label here, with this whole column component, right? They're both on top. To change the vertical alignment, you use align. So go into row where the row ends, the list ends, and then just put comma, align equals, and you have several options. We are going to align it to the center. So you have, they're both, if it's like this, right? They're both aligning in the center as opposed to aligning on top or aligning on the bottom or aligning in the center. So now they're aligning in the center. And as you probably saw, the options are start, center, and end. And now that we aligned in the center, you'll see that this dropped down a little bit and they're center aligned right here. Okay, great. So now this is a very, very important section, how to change your Bootstrap layout according to different screen sizes. So you will see, let's start here. Let's go in the first row. Let's go with this right here. Row column right here. So under the first column component where you have your first drop down, just do comma after the width. So right before the first column component closes right here, let's define the width. We'll just copy paste from GitHub. Let's define the width that we want to see for different screen sizes. So look at this. Let's see what this means. And you hashtag width out, so you don't need this right now because we're defining it this way. So what I'm saying here is, if my screen size is extra small, I want this column to be, component to be 12 columns wide. So there's not going to be any space for an additional column component. So this is going to take all the space of the page. If it's extra small, or if the size is small, or if the size is medium, this column component, the graph and the single dropdown, is going to take the whole page. There's nothing is going to be on the same row with this. If the screen size is large or extra large, which is what I have right now, it's going to be the same 5 columns wide, just like we said here. So let's just copy paste this to the same column component that we had underneath right here. We'll hashtag this out. Okay, so now these two, maybe it's a bit smaller, right? So in this row, we have 2 column components. This column component will have the same screen numbers assigned to them, screen size, as this column component. And then below, we'll do the same thing. For the same row, we'll do below the same thing. Don't need to use width, and then right here. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, so what am I saying here? Very important. We have 1 row here, right? And inside this row, we have 2 column components, right? For the first drop-down figure and the second drop-down figure. And I'm saying that if the screen size is large or extra large, right, which is what I have on my computer, then I want this whole component to be 5 columns and this whole component to be 5 columns wide. So they're both going to be on the same row, right? Let's see, look at this. So they're both on the same row, 5 columns wide, 5 columns wide, right? There's still 2 columns left. However, if the screen size is medium, small, or extra small, same thing here, then this is going to take 12 columns, and this is going to take also 12 columns. But because we only have 12 columns in a row, is actually this is going to come on top of this. So this is going to collapse and go under this drop down. And you can see this by just making the screen size smaller. If you make this smaller right here, now you'll see that there's a drop down in a figure, and the drop down of figure is underneath here. You see, that's because our screen size is small. It's medium, also the same. But if it becomes large, then it will become 5 and 5. 5 and 5. So this is a large screen, and there's 5 columns and 5 columns wide. So this is how you can manage width of columns according to screen size. Let's say this figure is not as important. You want it to be only 3 columns wide if the screen is small. So you just have to change that. Drop down multiple drop down options. The figure. Let's just change this. If the screen size is medium, let's do 6, or small, then it's going to be only 6 columns wide. Again, this is 12 and 12, so it's going to take up the whole row for the whole of the page, and then underneath it's going to take out only 6 columns or 6 columns depending on the screen size. Let's make this smaller. Now you see this is still large. If we put medium screen size right here, now this is 12 columns wide, and this is only 6 columns wide, right? If it's, and this is small, same, but if it's extra small, remember this is 12. If it's extra small from 6, it's going to become 12. You see? So now this is 12 and this is 12. So this is really cool. This is how you can adjust your layout depending on the screen size. It's not necessarily, it's not for cell phones yet. It does help with cell phones, but for it to work with a cell phone, you need to make sure to have this, what I showed you at the very beginning, there's meta tags inside your dash section. Why do you need this? You need this because if you don't have it, let's take this out. If you don't have it, what will happen is the following. This is going to be loaded. Everything is going to look okay on the screen. But if you inspect this, you right click and you click inspect. Now we're inspecting on an iPhone 6. Now you'll see, let's reload this, that you have to scroll from like right to left, you see? Although everything is on 12 rows, 12 columns, you have to scroll from right to left, and it's not responsive to an iPhone. You can change this. You can change this to a Galaxy. I have a Pixel 3 that's not on here. Pixel 2, still not responsive. You can change it to a Galaxy S5, still not responsive. So if you want to make sure that on the phone it looks good, add these meta tags, just copy paste them. And once it loads again, you'll see that it will look a lot better. Let's load it. Refresh, always refresh here. And now you'll see that, let it load, that everything is on 12 columns, but it fits the screen size of a Galaxy S5. It fits the screen size of the second column component will also fit this. It's on 12 columns and it fits the screen size. You see, and you can choose any iPhone you want, or cell phone, an iPad, iPhone X, Moto G4, Motorola. Again, if you want to go into the video that I created on mobile, dashboard for mobile, it will go over all these different mobiles, and it will show you how to add any mobile you want to this list, so you can actually test it on all the cell phones that you would like. All right, so this is what the meta tags do. They allow you to see everything responsive on a cell phone. If you'd like to join me on Patreon, if you're not part of my Patreon community, I would love to have you. It's a great way to learn more Dash Plotly tips and tricks. It's a great way to show your support for the live streams and the tutorials I offer and the GitHub, and I will be very thankful for you. I will also show you different things, like how, for example, you can do a bootstrap with a collapse. So let's run this, for example, the data table, and you'll see that we're creating an app layout. Let's actually close this. There we go. That we're actually creating an app layout with a table and a collapse. So these kind of things I'm going to upload to Patreon just so people have. You'll have them graphs here. You'll have this collapse button and you can open it, and then a table shows up. I'm going to show you, I'm going to put on Patreon just for my something that I learned a day ago with Amir, is how to create drawing capabilities. So if you allow right here, you can allow your users to actually use a pen and draw, right? I added these buttons, and now they can draw a line if they want, or they can draw like a trend, however they want. Usually Amir told me that they use this for like stock prices, so kind of cool. So I'll add this code to Patreon if you're interested, for my patrons. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for being there for me, and helping me create all these tutorials. I hope you learned a lot. I hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned, subscribe. Every week I'll put a tutorial on to show you how to work with dashboard apps in Python and Dash. So I hope to see you in the future. That is it for now. I will stay online for a few more minutes if you want to talk to me, if you want to write me any messages, share information. I am here for you. For all those that have to go, see you. Have a good day.